Okay, so welcome to the lesson here on GCSE drama for the OCR specification, and in the exam section B is all about live theatre evaluation, and that is what we're going to practice here today. Now, in order to access the rest of this lesson, you should have already by now been onto the Drama Online library and used your school login details, which you should already have. If you're not sure what they are, ask your teacher, and you should have logged in and been on there and watched the performance of Treasure Island. Once you have watched it, or during the performance, whichever is your preference, you should complete notes on the performance. If we were in a theatre, I would advise against doing it during the performance, but doing it this way, you have the luxury of being able to pause and make notes yourself. And really, those notes should be reflecting some of the details that you see on the screen now. So definitely the title of the production, the playwright, when it was written, the director, if you can, who the production company was, definitely the genre, a bit of outline of plot, and these are going to be for your revision at a later date, but also just to help get things clear in your head. You will also need to think about things that you see on stage, which will give the audience an idea of context of the play, so where it is set, when it is set, and those sorts of things. So once you've got all of your notes and you've seen the performance, we can then start to look at different elements, and today's lesson is going to focus on the acting elements and the elements of acting that you will have seen in the production. Now, the best way to think of acting elements is they are the things that actors do in order to show a character clearly to the audience. So what are those things, and how do we learn them, and how do we remember them? Well, for me, always the best way to remember them is if you can remember the expression, very mouldy parmesan grates itself easily, then you will always remember the acting elements, because it gives you an acrostic. The first letter of all of those words give us the first letters of our acting elements. So for example, V for very is voice, the way you use your voice and change it to suit the character. M is movement, and the way that you change your movement to suit the character. P for parmesan is posture, changing the way you stand to suit the character. G for grates is gesture, the use of your arms and your hands, and we use those to help express meaning or emotion. The I is interaction, and it's the relationship between characters themselves, or between the characters and the audience, or even between characters and objects. And the last one, E, is a bit of a cheat because it's expression, but really it's facial expression, and it's changing the look on your face to really show an emotion or a feeling. So if you can always remember very mouldy parmesan grates itself easily, then you will always be able to jog your memory. If you think V, we'll say, oh yeah, it's voice, that's it. Then you will always remember the acting elements. So once you've got those down, you've got those learnt, we need to kind of analyse them a little bit. We'll go in order. So as a focus, let's take vocal skills. There are different elements within the elements. So all of this is voice, because vocal skills might be something that you're asked to focus on in the exam and to write about. And so a task for you here is, there is a table, but it's only partially completed. I would like you to draw out this table and fill in the blanks. All of these things relate to voice. So what you need to do now is pause the video, and you need to then draw out the table and complete it. And shortly we will go through the answers, and you will have to submit this table at the end of the lesson to your teacher. So pause the video now, complete the table. Okay, hopefully you have now done that and completed it. So let's just go through and see if you got the right answers. So first of all, pitch. Well, you should all know that when you change the pitch of your voice, you are playing around with how high or low your voice goes. And that will show the character, and it will show how the character feels. So if you're very excited, we tend to go higher pitch. If you're quite sad, you tend to go lower pitch, for example. The second thing on there is pace. And pace is obviously the speed at which you speak. And again, if you're very excited, then you'll tend to speak a lot quicker. And if you're quite upset and sad, you'll tend to speak a lot slower. Now, what is it that creates drama and creates tension in crucial moments? Something that's very effective in performances? Well, it's actually something that you don't do with your voice. It's when you just pause and you stop speaking for a bit. So hopefully you got that one right. The next one, it suggests your mood and your intention towards the listener. It's the emotion in your voice. And that is tone. You know, that tone of voice. Don't you use that tone of voice with me. That suggests your mood. And the emotion in your voice. So being audible to the audience, make sure that they can hear you and not just shouting at them, unless you mean to, of course. Obviously that's volume. Very important, and again it tells us something about your character as well. Accent. Now an accent, as we all know, tells us about where a character is from. Or possibly, if all the characters are speaking with a specific accent, where the play is set. So location may be important. Okay, nearly there. The next one. This is the pressure on individual words that makes them stand out. And if you do that, then you're emphasizing and you create emphasis on particular words, which again can change the meaning. Which links nicely into the last one, intonation. And intonation is the meaning that is created. Not necessarily with the words that you say, but the way that you say those words. So hopefully you have been able to fill out that table nice and clearly, and you can add that to the work that you're going to send in at the end of this lesson. Moving forward, now we get onto the non-verbal communication. So all of those elements of acting, the acting elements that are not based around voice, essentially. And they're sort of linked together into what a lot of people call body language. And body language is how we communicate outwardly by combining together our movement, posture, gesture, our interaction and our facial expressions. And you can see there our Hamlet showing lots of different types of feelings and emotions by the way he combines his body language. So what I want you to do is to think of 5 additional emotions to the ones that are in the picture there, or feelings, and essentially you're going to be taking some selfies, or if you can set up your phone on a timer or get someone else to take a photo of you, so much the better. And I want you to physically recreate those emotions and make them really, really clear. In at least one of those photos, I want you to show interaction. So perhaps you are angry at a particular thing or fearful of a particular thing. So try and include a prop there. And put those 5 photos together, and you're going to combine those with the document and the work you're going to send off at the end of the lesson, and make sure to label each photo. So put a title on it or a caption underneath it, something like that. And I've stuck some examples there to help you out, to get you going. So 5 photos. So stop the video now and go and do your 5 photos. Okay, so picking body language apart, the first element that we're going to focus on of non-verbal communication is movement, the way we move. And we tend to kind of think about movement as a full body movement, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be part of your body. So movement is when all or just a part of your body travels from one place to another, and that's all it is. And there are different elements that we need to look at within movement. The speed of movement, the rate at which you move, tells us something about your character. So if you're running, for example, then maybe you're in a hurry, or maybe you're scared. It could be a lot of different reasons. And if you're walking very slowly, then perhaps you're more relaxed, and you can look at states of tension within that. The fluidity of movements, are they smooth or are they jumpy? Is there staccato as an element of your movement? The size of the movement. Is it the whole body that's moving, or is it just someone tapping a foot to show nervousness, perhaps? And we tend to use the word gait as the way someone walks, because movement encompasses all of that, but actually the walk, the movement of the whole body and the way that they walk, we tend to use the word gait. So we tend to look at a character's gait as well. No tasks for that, just make sure you've read and understood that information. If you need to go back and go through it again, then please do so. Next on our very mouldy Parmesan list is posture. And posture is the position of a person's body when standing or sitting, particularly just their body. And again, there are different elements that we need to look at. Levels are quite important. So if you want to show a more dominant figure, then they're probably going to stand with a more upright posture, possibly shoulders back, chest out. We always need to consider how posture changes. Whenever we move our head, we're changing our posture. Our shoulders, our upper back, our arms, and also our chest as well feeds into that. How you lift your chin, for example, or drop it, can really show something about your character. If you're considering how you incorporate your legs into the posture, then we tend to refer to that as stance. So posture is really an upper body thing. When you incorporate legs as well when standing, we tend to refer to stance. And again, there's no task for that. Just read through the information, go back if you need to, and revisit that anytime you want to. Okay, gesture. Such a vitally important part of drama, and it's something that we all do and use on a daily basis. It's usually included as part of movement because it's part of your body that's moving, and it is particularly useful in mime. And the most significant, it's not just arm gestures but hand gestures, but we're really focusing on arms and hands here. And gestures can add emphasis to what you're talking about, but they can also show mood and emotion. So, for example, pointing, we tend to do when we're angry. We'll tend to point a finger. We may shrug our shoulders if we're feeling a bit indifferent, for example. And there is a task here. What I want you to do is take your phone again, and I want you to take a picture of yourself using a gesture to convey the 5 phrases at the bottom of the slide. So our 5 phrases are: I have told you time and time again this is unacceptable behaviour. I want you to think of an acceptable gesture that would go with that. Our second one is welcome. The third one is the train station is in that direction. The fourth one, oh no, the volcano has erupted, it's too late. And the last one, please can I have it? Pretty please. So I want you to take 5 individual photos that should clearly convey those phrases or those words or sentences. And again, I want you to add those to the things that you're going to be emailing to your teacher at the end of the lesson. So pause the video now and go and take your photos. Okay, interaction. Interaction is our I in the very mouldy Parmesan grates itself easily. And it's all to do with the way a character or characters act around each other or the audience, or with objects as well. So we need to consider some different elements in here. Levels are very important. So higher status characters tend to be on a higher level, sort of looking down on lower status characters, for example. Closeness is important. There's usually a greater intensity when characters come closer together. And again, the opposite of that is distance. We can really kind of go the other way and show possibly intimacy or lack of intimacy as the characters get further apart. And we tend to use the word proxemics to describe that. It comes from the word proximity. And it's a piece of drama-specific terminology that's always very useful when you're writing about interaction in particular. There's no task for this, so again, read it through, make sure you've understood it, and those things that make up interaction. And our last one is expression, or facial expressions, and they are a very important aspect of body language. If you're in a large theatre auditorium, audience members could be a long way away, and facial expressions are very important to use to show the character's feelings. So what I want you to do is, we've got 5 emotions at the bottom there. This is your task. We have happy, sad, angry, surprised and puzzled. What I want you to do is to mimic those facial expressions, and again take a photo for each one. I'd like you to add those photos to the same document that you've been putting together, and that you will be able to email those over, again titled or captioned with the emotions that you've got there. Hopefully your teacher won't need those and will be able to tell immediately. Right, so putting it all together, again, body language is the combination of all of those things. And when we watch performances, we see actors, not doing those things individually, but putting them all together to create a character and to create impact ultimately. And as an audience member, you need to be able to analyse these and also analyse how the actor is doing what they're doing. So having a range of adjectives really, really helps. What we have here is a table of adjectives. And to start off with, I want you to take your phone and take a picture of you expressing these adjectives through body language. So that's putting together a focus of posture, gesture and facial expressions. You're not going to be able to show movement too much, and obviously we're not going to have voice. If you can get interaction with an object, again as before, then that would be great. If you could include a prop or something like that, then that would be useful as well. So pause the video now and take your 10 photos. 1 aggressive, exuberant, prim, grumpy, bossy, cheerful, timid, dim, embarrassed and nervous. And if you're unsure of what any of those mean, then just look them up. So pause the video now, take your photos. Okay, hopefully you've got those photos added to your collection of photos. Now we're going to do something a bit different. I would like you to speak the line that is on the second bullet point on the slide, which is taken from the National Theatre production of Treasure Island. And I want you to record it 10 times, each time using the different adjectives. So the line is, I was standing 2 feet away from a one-legged man. Now I'd like you to record that in an aggressive way, an exuberant way, a prim way, etc. Okay. Now what you could do is you could do that on a voice memo. If you're feeling lucky, you could do it in one go and do all 10 back to back, or do 10 individual ones. Or you could use the video function of your phone and just record the audio. We don't have to see you doing it at all. And save that and then add it to your document with your photos that you're going to email to your teacher. And you should be able to email your sound files directly or that video file as well. So stop the video now and record your audio files. Okay, so this should be the list of work that you have created from this lesson, and these are the things that you're going to be sending in to your teacher. We'd like to see 1 correctly completed table of vocal elements. You should have the 5 pictures showing the clear body language usage and labelled with the 5 emotions to make it clear. You should also have 5 pictures of gestures that were demonstrating clearly the phrases on the slide. We should have the 5 pictures of different facial expressions, and again labelled. We should have 10 pictures showing the different adjectives from the previous slide, and we should also have the audio recording in however way you can get that across, with the 10 recorded lines. So it's the same line but recorded 10 different ways. Now it's up to you to get that work together and email it into your teacher. And hopefully you've enjoyed this lesson looking at acting elements of voice, movement, posture, gesture, interaction and expression, facial expression. But to remember it clearly, very mouldy parmesan grates itself easily.